such a large group of Conservative MPs feel as though they essentially need to draw up their own policy and then go so public with it. There was a key line in this for me, which was quoted in the media earlier on, which is that several of these MPs are concerned that they're getting, quotes, hammered on the doorstep over migration. My big concern would be whether or not Rishi Sunak actually really wants to enact this policy. Does he care about not just Red Wall MPs, but mostly Red Wall MPs, who will quite possibly lose their jobs as a result of the migration issue? I'm joined now, I'm very pleased to say I am, by Tom Hunt, who's the author of the New Conservatives report. Tom, thank you very much for your time today. First and foremost, it's worthwhile reminding people what this report actually says. So what's in it?
I mean, ultimately, it's about going to that pledge we made in the 2019 manifestos. We said that we would decrease migration. And sadly, what we've really seen since that has been quite a dramatic increase. Admittedly, some of that was because of the refugees from Hong Kong and Ukraine, but even taking that into account, the numbers are far too high. So essentially, this plan, with its 12 recommendations, is a route map to us meeting that promise we made to the electorate in 2019. And getting it so net migration is decreasing based upon the 2019 numbers as a first base, as stage one in properly taking control of our immigration system and actually getting much closer to where most of the British public are at when it comes to the kind of migration they'd like to see. OK, all right. And some of the key elements to this, which I think are really quite sound, actually, stopping the student backdoor into Britain. I mean, good grief, that should just be common sense. Making sure that only 5% of our social housing stock can go to non-Brits. Because at the moment, we are seeing British people getting bumped down housing waiting lists because somebody has just come over here from a different country and, frankly, can't look after themselves. You also want to raise the amount of money, don't you, that someone would have to be able to earn before they can be given right to remain, I think, to £38,000. Is that right? But this is all stuff that should have been happening anyway, isn't it? Well, I think to be fair, the Prime Minister inherited this points-based system. I think since he did, he has made some positive moves on student dependence. A few months ago, him and the Home Secretary said that if you're on a one-year taught master's programme, you're no longer allowed to bring any dependents. I mean, that counted for about 100,000 of the number. That's that 600 figure you quoted. So that's a step in the right direction. There's lots of good things. He's committed to decreasing it. But, we think, we've just got, we've ended EU free movement. We've got control of our migration system. I think the fact there's a bit of a healthy debate going on about it isn't a bad thing. The report that we've put together is designed to be constructive. There's 12 recommendations in there, many of which I believe hopefully can be adopted. And it can get us. It's important, the point about social housing. I think people are beginning to realise. People are beginning to realise that the mass migration we've seen over the last few decades is having a real impact on their quality of life when it comes to getting affordable housing, when it comes to seeing a GP. All sorts of different areas. And these are people who do see the benefits of managed migration. They are not xenophobes. They're people who see the benefits of managed migration, but the scale of it we've seen is too much. That coupled with illegal migration, people do feel strongly about it. I feel strongly about it. And as members of Parliament, we're plugged into our constituents, and that was why we were there today.
You know what I think the best bit about your proposals is this desire to have a report that runs concurrently on. So we get the jobs benefits of immigration. That's just published all the time. That's the whole thing that props the whole thing up and makes people, think that this is all a great idea, mass migration on the scale that we've got at the minute. But what you really want is another report that's running alongside it pretty much, which shows the impacts on public services, so that people, ordinary Brits out there, can weigh up the kind of cost-benefit analysis. Isn't it really? That is absolutely vital. And that is why I think people feel as though they've been conned thus far. Why have you had to fight to get a report that goes, well, look, we can have migration at this level, but here's the impact it will have on your local GP surgery or schools or housing? It's almost like they've been trying to hide that from us.
Well, I think there's been a focus on net migration. There's always focused on GDP figures, not GDP per capita, not pressure on public services, not the consequences of rapid social and cultural change. It's important when we debate this issue, we look at the issue in the round. I mean, ultimately, we want migration that is going to be beneficial to the quality of lives of British residents. We want people to be able to live in a community where it's easy for them to see their GP, easy for a kid to get a place at school, easy to get affordable housing, and actually to be able to go into your city centre and town centre and actually feel like you're living in a cohesive community. Yeah. where people are there with shared values, where people are integrated. All of these things matter. We can continue to get the benefits of migration, but we can get higher skilled migration. We've discriminated a little bit when it comes to the student numbers as well. We've said that if you're a higher quality institution and it's a higher quality course, then of course we want to continue to see some of those benefits. I mean, if you're working at sort of the Cambridge Science Park affiliated University of Cambridge, you're carrying out research which is of global and national benefit, that continues. But if you're going to a lower quality university doing a course of very limited value, and also, why when you complete the course can you hang around for 2 to 3 years afterwards, even if you don't have a job to go to? I mean, hypothetically, if I was offered the chance to go to, a college in America to do a good degree, my assumption would be I'd go there by myself, I'd stay there for as long as the degree lasts, and then I'd come back afterwards. So, look, we've got to resolve all of those things, but I think it is fair to acknowledge with Rishi Sunak. He's been incredibly brave on the illegal migration bill. He's gone further than anybody else has. I think he is a lot sounder on immigration than a lot of people give him credit for, and I'm confident we can really get somewhere, with him, and we can make significant progress on this issue.
How urgent is this? That phrase, we're getting hammered on the doorstep, and, to be fair, Tom, the fact that you and 20 odd other people have gone so public about this and put together what, may I just say, is an incredibly well thought out and very, very kind of common sense filled report here that some would say is almost, I hate to use this phrase, but oven ready, as it were, for Rishi Sunak to go and use. I mean, clearly you feel that there is a matter of significant urgency here, and a lot of Tory MPs are going to lose their jobs if Rishi Sunak doesn't put this into place. I mean, does he get that?
Look, I feel millions of people, millions of British people up and down the country for a very long period of time feel like they've been shut out of a debate on immigration, like they're not part of the debate, like nobody ever voted to have net migration at these levels. They've been shut out of that debate. Right now, there is an unhealthy, undemocratic chasm between where a majority of the public are when it comes to this issue and the actual reality of the numbers and what's happening. We've got to narrow that. It's better for democracy if you do that, and it's better for the country if you do that. So yeah, it is. When we see tens of thousands of people coming across here every year illegally, when we see net migration at a level which would you struggle to get 5% of the population supporting net migration being at the level it's currently at, yes, it is urgent. It's urgent for the country. And it's, but I think it's important we realise that the only way we're going to get significant movement on this is through the Conservative government. And Rishi Sunak has made positive moves. As I say, he's been robust on illegal migration. He's done the things on the student dependence. He said he wants to see the numbers come down. We've got to have faith in him. But this report today is designed to be constructive. And actually, if as members of Parliament we don't listen to our constituents and we don't raise their concerns in the way that we have done today, what's our job? If
it would be nice, but just to say, look, Tom, you're incredibly sound, right? And I've had a few MPs on from this new Conservative group who are very sound. But you are just saying things that I think most people would expect normal Conservatives to think and believe. And, crucially, you made the vital point there that this is the majority view. What you're putting across here right now, I am convinced, is the majority view from people. Is there not a problem that there aren't enough proper Conservative MPs?
Look, I mean, I spend a lot of my time knocking on doors and talking to my constituents, and a lot of what I say and a lot of my activity is driven and motivated by those conversations I have. And I also would say that a lot of the people who've raised concerns about migration in recent years have been people who themselves came here a number of years ago, and they've integrated and made a positive contribution. And actually, they can see many people who have moved recently who haven't really made much attempt to integrate, and they don't like it. So I think all sorts of different people have been raising this concern. But yeah, it frustrates me. You get sections of the media who sort of brand us as being, the right wing of the Conservative Party or veering to the right. This is the centre ground. You look at all polling. I think there's only about one constituency in the country where a majority of people in that constituency don't think that migration has been too high. The vast majority think it's been too high. That doesn't mean that they don't see the benefits of migration. That doesn't mean that they're xenophobic. It just means that we want it at sustainable levels, which is good for the quality of life of the British people. And that's where we've got to get to. We will not get it with the Labour Party. We'll get, all we'll get from the Labour Party is their approach to the HGV crisis, which is to get more and more workers, from abroad for that. They voted against all of the immigration measures we've brought in. The last Labour Prime Minister we have branded people as bigots who had concerns about, uncontrolled migration from Europe. So, we know the Labour Party would only make it worse, but it falls to us, the Conservatives. There's no good just pointing at Labour. We've got to deliver.